Making money from horse racing requires skill because unlike other forms of gambling, the results are not random chance, but the most reliable strategies are not what you might think. So watch along as I show you how I bet on horse racing price movements to make a solid return without taking excessive risk, hours before the start of the race. In fact, by the time the race had started, I'd already banked my profit, which was ideal because the horse eventually came second. So I've got a straightforward example here using the Betfair website. Everyone should be able to understand how and why I knew this was going to happen in advance and be a winner with me explaining like this. I'll share some more advanced reasoning in a second, but by starting here, you'll understand better by the time that we come to it. So for context, it's 9:30 in the morning and I'm looking at the Betfair Exchange website and I'm looking at this particular race at Wolverhampton where the favourite is an extremely short price. So I've laid the favourite at a price of 2.28, you can see over on the side there, to lose this particular race. And I'm doing this in anticipation that the price will drift out and get larger on the lead up to that 3:55 start time for this particular race. Now, there are 5 different factors that contributed to this being an obvious decision in my favour. So leading from least important up until most important, we'll go through them one by one. First of all, it's the quality of the situation. And the reason this is important is because when there's low quality in terms of race, liquidity and information on offer, there's more likely to be more movement in the prices in the marketplace. It's less well informed. So big bets coming into the marketplace are more likely to shift things and turn them on their head. So that's something that we also need to watch out for as the trade progressed. Now, the second point is lack of information. If we take a look at the racing post here, you can see the type of race that we've got on. There's low prize money. Obviously, there's not as much interest. There's a premium racing around the day. And also, there's not a huge amount of form for all of the horses in this particular race. So the market is actually a guide to what is likely to happen a lot of time in these situations with inside information pushing those prices around. Now, the third point is likely challengers within the market. So take a look at the screen here. You can see Moon Knight's price has changed significantly, and in line with the racing post and what they expected this situation to look like, it's actually very different at a significantly shorter price. If we look at the exchange markets, that also translates through there in terms of the amount of money that's come in on this particular horse. More on that in just a moment. So if we take a look at this particular trade, as it progresses throughout the morning, looking at it at 12 noon there, you can see that the price has started to shift in our favour. We managed to lay the price down the bottom there. Now, for people who aren't familiar with Betfair trading and exchange trading in terms of sports betting, this is really good because what we're looking for is the price to move out so we can then sell our position back to the market, i.e. bet that the horse will win. Having the 2 bets against each other means that we can lock in a profit because there's a difference in price, much like if you were buying or selling goods anywhere else in the world. There's a link in the description down below. Betfair have featured me in the past as a professional trader doing this on their website. Now, if we take the progression further forward to 1 p.m. and then also to 2 p.m, you see that the trade just steadily progressed over the day in the direction that we expected, where we got in at that value position. And that's what's really important here, the value position in the first place. Now, there are lots of different strategies you can use with lots of different reasons. Can't go through them all in this one video. I personally prefer to trade the live shows, which is the last 10 minutes leading up to the start of the race, because this is where 90% or thereabouts of the money is actually traded on a horse race, giving us the most opportunity, which is also important coming on to the next point in just a second, because it's also a place where, you know, the whole situation and environment, bets coming into the market, the price is moving, can change quite significantly and be turned on its head. So we're trying to protect the downside, much like a financial trader would in this situation too. So how did I know that the price would actually move in our favour in this particular situation? We understand the setup now, you understand the exchanges, you understand why we're doing this, but the fourth point that I wanted to highlight here is the fact that this particular favourite at a short price in a weak situation was drastically overbet. Now, if you remember last week's video and you haven't seen it already, we covered a tipster which influences the public each morning, or people follow this tipster blindly either way, and you'll see that the tipster actually suggested this at an enhanced amount of points to bet on for people that follow the tipster, so that this had the price overbet at a short price at a weak point within the market early on. So check out that previous video, but this is another reason to tell us that we were getting on the right side of the price, the value price, at a very low price early in the morning there. Now, the fifth point is the traded volumes, which is the be and end all whenever it comes to Betfair trading. And we'll show you with some piece of software on the screen here, which is where things start to get a little bit more advanced. For people who haven't seen it before, this is just the Betfair exchange interface used via third-party application. So we get live information at our fingertips instantly. Now, inside the live shows, things turned on their head a little bit, and there was a problem here, and I'll explain that problem for you, because when that influx of late money comes, the whole situation can change more. Now, this is not the kind of stuff that bookies would want you to understand, and they certainly won't support this channel, so I'm relying on you guys to tap the subscribe button down below. Thanks, I really appreciate that. So looking at the progressive stages, we're now into the final stage, 10 minutes or so before the start of this race at Wolverhampton. The market has started to realign, and those outside prices, including Moon Knight, have come in, which have actually pushed out the favourite's price. So it's support and resistance, because all these prices are interlinked proportionately. Now, I'll show you what happened with the final result in a second, but basically there was an influx of money on this particular favourite within that live show, which made me a little bit nervous, made me dump this position, and so we closed out the trade there, locking in our profit. That profit you can see on the screen there is our total profit for this race before the race has even started on every single horse. However, in hindsight, it would have been better to let this trade carry on drifting, because our initial anticipation and belief was totally correct. It did progress. It's just that that influx of money urged me to dump the position a little bit too early. So Good Humour came second in this particular race. If you look at Timeform, you can see the prices there. And the most important thing is that we managed to trade ourselves into a positive position based on the market being overbet in this situation. All those things are laid out there. There's another example in the screen here of a previous trade, shows you a different trading style if you're interested.